Governor Mechi said it's about the economic structure and changing it. That could be it, but that may not be all of it. David Wright continues and says, your generation is optimistic and idealistic with a deep desire to make their mark in the world. They dream of what can be and follow their dreams with passion and perseverance. They are no longer prepared to be spectators watching the world go by. Is it correct? He says that your generation want to be players, that you want to get your hands dirty to make a difference. Is that a good assumption? Okay. He says you are often knowledgeable about the affairs of the world and very mobile, traveling as much as resources and opportunities allow. Well, as globalization and modern technology continue to shrink our world, people are connecting worldwide like never before, particularly young people, overcoming cultural, geographical, race, academic, intellectual, just name it, cultural barriers with ease. For the first time in human history, we are seeing the emergence of a global youth culture, however nebulous that term might be. It is a youth culture with certain common values, dreams, and desires. I do remember a particular survey that was done globally of youth across the world. And one of the aspects that they were asked was their opinion on corporations. And one significant, overwhelming answer, with about 79% of youths around the world saying this, is that they expect that corporations would function and operate on the basis of certain fundamental ethics. It's like universal demand. So, when your original theme for this program, during the original incarnation, it was centered on the legendary issue of leadership, and especially anchored on the very exciting topic of emerging leadership among our millennial generation of those born between 1981 and 1990 up until now. Following the events of January and the remaining agenda between the citizens and those that govern them, including Governor Rotimi Amechi and Governor Kayode Fayemi, and the Minister of Youth, Bolaji Abdullahi, you brought governance and leadership issues into sharper focus by asking me to speak on the challenges of responsible governance. How can this generation do better? Your topic is eloquent, even if it feigns diplomacy, in delivering a not so charitable assessment of generations that have gone ahead of yours, as not having attained your high marks in the business of responsible governance. And I think that was the point Governor Rotimi was making. Indeed, your topic does little to mask your pained frustration at the performance of those in my generation and others before mine that did not succeed, in your opinion, in tackling the challenges of responsible governance. Like a number of you, I am eternally curious. I am a curious soul, and I delight in analysis and diagnostics. I like to be persuaded by evidence and not by mere anecdotes in matters of performance and argumentation. It would therefore help if I contextualized the topic across 3 ideas. Are you still awake? Just checking. The first is to define and agree the concept of responsible or good governance, because that's what you're alluding to. Responsible governance, good governance, they are synonyms. As well as the better performance that you alluded to. By first establishing that there is indeed a correlation between good governance and economic, socio-political performance and other such indicators of performance among nation states. The second would be to at least define some universally agreed benchmarks on the basis of which we can establish that what we are measuring and whether evidence is indeed persuasive that all generations of leadership until yours have been bedeviled and challenged by responsible governance, or the more globally used good governance. And from hence, I shall use good governance. Finally, and the third point, is that once we establish the basis of the facts that we, your forebears, have failed you and the nation in the manner of dismal results of performance of poor governance, of decades of poor governance, we can then move on to the second part of the topic. And this is the aspect where you seek a pathway out of the failure and fundamentally would like to depart from the status quo. Certainly, everyone, including generations that you have indicted by virtue of the topic, will be relieved to see your resolve to lead this nation differently. A recent global survey showed that your generation around the world stands out as the most connected to the developments in international affairs. So most of you will assuredly be aware that not just in our nation, but everywhere else in the world, people are right now seeking for big solutions. Because the world is grappling with what? Big problems. Can any of you relate to that? That there are many nations where they are just looking for big solutions because they are dealing with big problems. So we're not any different, as it were. Surely, should we establish that our own big problem is the one that you have posed as your symposium theme, and then nothing more would give us hope than to know that you seek to be our solution. And I think Governor Rotimi was saying that he had a lot of the listing of the problems, but that no solution was proffered. I waited for his own solution too. Why are you thanking me now? What then would be the critical factors that would help guarantee the higher probability of success and a break with the past, should you remain determined to pay the cost for the actions that would be necessary for the new path? If by the end of your symposium, our people, both leaders and followers, became confident through your actions, more than through your words, that you are truly ready to lead us out of the undignified trajectory and legacy of failure, then great indeed shall be our collective rejoicing. I make bold to say that majority of your compatriots would at this point be persuaded by whatever you can do positively to produce something different. A fundamental positive outcome that would then become our new norm. So what is responsible or good governance? And what does empirical research reveal on the long-drawn and continuing debate on the relationship between good governance and better economic performance? Broadly speaking, the term good governance is an all-encompassing word that defines how a country is governed. It is participatory, consensus-oriented, accountable, transparent, responsive, effective, efficient, equitable. It is inclusive, and it follows the rule of law. At a minimum, good governance requires fair legal frameworks that are enforced impartially by an independent judiciary, and its decisions and enforcements are transparent or carried out in a manner that follows established rules and regulations. Since accountability cannot be enforced without transparency and the rule of law, accountability is a key requirement for good governance. Not only government institutions, but also private sector and civil society organizations, including all of you that belong to one group or the other, must be accountable to the public and to their institutional stakeholders.